a session presented by Collinson International. Please welcome the Chief Product Officer of Collinson International, Fabio De Grazia, in conversation with SkiftX Research Editor Dan Marcec.
All right, Fabio, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, welcome back from lunch and that great session. So, as you can see from the title of this session, we're talking about some familiar topics. Hopefully everybody in this room at least has some understanding of their customers' loyalty, and likely you've been working on a personalization strategy, right? But obviously, Fabio and I are not going to get up here and tell you something you already know. So tell us a little bit about why your perspective at Collinson is unique in terms of how traveler behavior is changing.
So let's start with Collinson International. We are a global leader in airport experiences, in loyalty and customer engagement. But probably most of you know us for the brands that we own and operate, meaning Loungekey and Collinson Pass. So pretty sure every one of us that has a card at some point has gone through a Priority Pass lounge. And of course, our perspective is the main core of our data comes from the lounge visits that, of course, we monitor on a daily basis. And we've seen that in the last 1 year, so since 2023, the growth of travel and the lounge benefit has grown 20% month over month. Now, of course, this comes out of a dip during COVID and now is going well above the original trend. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this can be explained in a variety of ways, of course. And this is actually, I think, come from a report from Skift that consumers want something more discerning. They want something more customized but quiet. Hygiene is a key important part, and therefore a lounge offers this compared to busy terminals. So that's definitely one. Of course, we are expanding our network, adding partners, adding different experiences in all parts of the world. And that, of course, allows people to benefit from it regardless of where they are, regardless of where they're traveling. And our apps help them find the correct informations. And then I think also, but we're probably going to touch it later on as well, more and more clients, our clients, issuers, banks, big networks, understand and recognize the importance of travel benefits and lounge benefits for their customers to drive acquisition, engagement, and retaining. So they're also pushing the consumers and helping us in the communication, right? Then if you want some stats on the Middle East, I know you have wanted some numbers, so I did my best.
Sure.
So in Middle East...
Yeah, what's happening here?
Yeah, so travel and tourism, it's growing globally, right? Mm-hmm. But here in the MENA, we've seen a growth of 25%, so even higher of, let's say, the global average compared to 2023. It reached almost $500 billion.
Yeah.
Right? And again, looking at UAE and Saudi, they're both very similar. At least UAE is confirming its position to be the hub and the destination of choice. I think is the sixth highest ranking in terms of revenue generating from international travel.
Wow, right.
And Saudi, similarly, part of their Vision 2030, of course, they are investing a lot in tourism and events, and we've seen like 35% growth again over last year of people traveling.
Right. So, I mean, I think we're seeing this behavior change in terms of more people wanting things like lounge access. They're changing the things that they want while they're traveling. One of the other interesting things that we're seeing is not just about the behaviors during the trip, but really their overall philosophy and intent. Yes. I know Collinson did some recent research, and as part of that, you cited a study that showed sports and music tourism, for example, doubling over the next decade.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the overall market. But what about in terms of how travelers are acting when they go? I think you had some stats on that as well, in terms of what they're doing, on those particular trips.
As you mentioned, the events in general, and sports and music in particular, are booming. If you look at people that traveled in the last 3 years to visit events, 83% was for sports and 58% was for music.
Wow, okay.
But it's also interesting to see that it's not just a one-off.
Right.
60% travel for an event 2, 3, 4 times a year. 23% go even higher. So it's a very specific segments that, due to internationalization of new sports, streaming, TV, people getting more and more interested, and they want to follow their the sport heroes somewhere else. Also, music, people are understanding that somehow it's much cheaper to fly on a plane and go in another country, and it's cheaper than following your artist in the
we at Skift, we wrote a whole feature on that about a family that traveled. I think it was to Brazil from the U.S. to see Taylor Swift because it was cheaper than going in Boston.
Exactly. It depends on the country. Plus, you can always attach a bit of holidays together with the travel and match the benefit and the travel in general, and the relaxed time in general. And therefore, this is quite an untapped segment, I believe. I'm not seeing many of our clients and partners fully dedicated to tourism and sports.
Right.
But because the way it's growing, the way it's already reached $500 billion and doubling in by 2032, I think is a good untapped opportunity for together with us, of course, and then we'll talk about the ecosystem. But how can we address the need of this very specific segmentation, which, by the way, it's fully engaged, spend money, and therefore turn revenues for the issuers on the networks that provided that benefit.
Right, exactly. The interesting thing, we're talking about loyalty here, right? One thing I have not heard you talk about at all yet is a brand or a company, right? People are loyal to the things that they want to do and the benefits that they want to get while they're traveling. Of course, they have their preferred brand. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a Delta guy. But there are going to be some sporting event or some concert that I want to go to, and I'm not going to have access to that. So how do we start to bridge those gaps in terms of giving that personalized offering that people want, to complement their brand loyalty?
Yeah, I think let's start by saying, at least from our research, we find out that more than 80% of people would actually change their card or banking provider if they have less travel benefits, especially lounge, right? So there is very high correlations, both on the acquisition of those customers, the retentions of customers, and everything is in between, which is the engagement.
Right.
Because of course, again, we can prove in numbers that people that travel, people that use lounge, spend way more on their payments tools than people that don't do that, right?
Right.
And so, the key is avoiding, because there's a lot of reward fatigue. So just doing quantity of benefits from quality is paying less and less. We want to be able together to really target the needs of the specific consumers. That's what also technology more and more is allowing us to do it. So we should be doing it. We had discussions before on AI, but pretty much every company is trying to use data and information to then tailor the needs.
Right. And so, as we talk about this, how can brands kind of start to work together across the traveler journey? Again, a good example, an individual may be loyal to an airline and loyal to a hotel, but those things aren't necessarily connecting. How can brands start to work together with companies like Collinson to develop these types of partnerships that start to service each customer where they want to be across the entire journey?
So generally, from a consumer point of view, of course, there are different types of consumers, different personas looking for different things. Right. And I don't think that any of our company, including the one I work for, can provide for all these needs at the same level, right? So the key is to partner with each other and make sure that we create that ecosystem for the end consumer that not just only offers a benefit in the lounge in the hotel, but anything that happens in the booking phase, in getting to the airport phase, staying in the airport, and then after the airport. So we need to integrate horizontally or vertically on all aspects and benefits in order to offer what the clients really need and tailor them. So that it's not a one-size-fits-all, but a lot of work on data and personalization and analysis that can help drive that. But we need both, right? So we also need the experiences and the partners to provide something back.
Right, exactly. So how do we get closer? Like you said, it's impossible for any one company to really, maybe not impossible, but it's a lofty goal for any one company to deliver that fully personalized experience. So how do you envision us getting closer to that? And what are some of the opportunities, even some examples where you've seen it work?
I mean, definitely, even if I look at the example as an example, Collinson, we've been partnering since the beginning with all the major financial institutions, issuers, networks, because we both recognize, especially from the network's point of view, that's not a business they want to get into. They much rather have somebody that does it professionally, is a global leader, and can give them reach to 800 lounges across the world. So that partnership is already very strong.
Yeah.
And what we are trying to do is integrate with other partners that can help, and therefore creating a more comprehensive ecosystem, right? And some partners are more, with the data side, some partners on the experience side, on the tooling side. So this is the strategy or the vision for Collinson, is to become an ecosystem, expose API, and use APIs of our partners to create a travel app that allows consumers to get everything they need.
Yeah,
getting there, getting insured if you're going skiing, buying a pillow for your neck if I connect Amazon. So it's an endless opportunity, but the more we work together, the more we can make sure that the end consumer feels valued, that his needs have been addressed, and therefore we'll turn that into engagement and paying.
Right, exactly. So if you want to learn more about Collinson and having these sorts of partnerships, please scan the QR code. We've got time for one more thing, but I do want to say that I don't want to scare anybody in this room. People are still loyal to brands, but
yes,
brands need to think more about how they can be loyal to their customers and thinking about what it is that they're looking for in each of those individual experiences. So, what can you say to summarize, and again, if you have a quick example, we've got time.
I mean, to summarize, I can give examples of companies, even in the UAE, that do a good job analyzing data and personalizing things. And we're going to soon have the UAE National Day. There are companies like Musanfir, that a travel agent that I extensively studied where people do during those periods, and now they're going back into personalizing offers and destination based on the data they acquire. But if I have to leave with one single, let's say, final statement, is that yes, we need a lot of benefits and rewards because that's our consumer wants. Yes, we need to be mindful and targeted to what we offer to them because what they need, but travel remains across all segments and across all life cycles, probably the top 1, 2, 3, depending on the markets. So definitely we can start from there. That's why we started from there. And yeah, research proves that if you get you get a 60% increase on NPS scoring from payment companies when the clients have a good set of benefits, including lounge travel.
Great. Well, Fabio, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later this afternoon.